What's going on, guys? And welcome back to this to the Forge. So, in our last one, we did a drive-in beam hook, which is one of my all-time favorite crafts to do. But this time, we're going to be doing something. I don't want to call it in the same vein. It really isn't. But it's another little craft that I do quite frequently. Is S hooks, and I was going to do something that I haven't done before. However, this is my last piece of quarter-inch square that I've cut. I'm completely out. I've been making hooks for the last couple of weeks. And so I don't really have any more stock in this size outside of some quarter-inch round. And that's all getting turned into S hooks and closed link chain, uh, figure eights, if you will. But this will be a little bit of a shorter one because I can pound like 5 of these out in 10 minutes, but I only have one piece of stock that I want to use. You can also tell I'm using a different hammer. This is my 2.5 pound cross peen, and I've actually just gotten done making some modifications to it, which included lopping part of the handle off because it was way out here, and this is quite a long hammer handle considering I mostly hold it up here. Aside from that, I repolished it, cleaned the face up a little bit. I still need to drill a hole for a wrist strap. I got one put in my other hammer, but I haven't put a strap on it yet. I need to put a new one in here because it came with a hole. I widened it out so I could hang it, but it wasn't big enough for a strap. And we are, where is it? So I do a lot of these. So most of the time when I do them, I'm going to turn that off for a second. I use this quick, fast baiting jig that I had made about last year, or well, beginning of this year when I started. And I have a wedge pin that I use to take up space. It almost completely fills the gap when you put it at an angle, but that is how I do most of my S hooks. So we're going to get this in the jig. Actually, don't even need a hammer today. And it got cold. The joys of working with small material. I did throw some coal in the fire when I got started just to be able to start poking it up. And it burns slightly cooler. I'll flip that around that way. One end stays warm because it'll hold the temperature, and the other end will actually heat up without touching the fire. Which is one thing I really like about this forge. I made this all myself. It is a 55-gallon barrel, a bunch of 1-inch tubing, and some 2-inch angle iron. Eventually, I want to get some casters put on it. It's going to cut it down about 4 inches. Uh, that way it'll stay the same height. And there's our rough shape. That is step one. And now I actually do need to reheat it because it got cold already. Now we need the hammer. And what we're going to do is we're going to straighten that back out, close the loops up some, that way it won't swing off in the wind. And that'll be pretty much done. Unfortunately, I still don't have tongs specifically for 1/4 inch square, so I'm using wolf jaws. And these don't hold anything really the best. Alright, that's all the heat for that one. Which is the only issue I have with 1/4 inch square. I love working with it. It moves real easily. It twists real nice. Maybe one day soon we'll do a full catalog once I have a catalog set up. I don't have one right now. But since last week, I have been working on getting shipping capabilities. The only thing I have left to get is some uh, packaging, some masking tape, and some bubble envelopes. Because these things are so small, I don't really want to put them in a box. And if you can't tell, you can't see my face. That is because I am currently working with different camera angles, try to figure out how I can best show the anvil and the forge without having the controls from the camera. So let's see if we can flatten this out. And if you're just getting started with blacksmithing, you don't really want to do a whole lot of heavy hammering at the horn, the round horn of the anvil. You want most of your work to be done up here. The the back of the horn you can use for drawing out fullers, but this is specifically for shaping. As you start, you're gonna realize you don't have enough tools. You need to make more tools, and you need stuff to sell if it's not on your budget to be able to afford the tools. So let's give this one more kind of scorching heat. I'm actually going to rake this a little bit because good God, the ash. Currently, fire is spreading throughout my fire pot that I have. And the further it spreads, the quicker it is burning. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this off because we just want this to barely start glowing. Even though y'all can barely even hear the fan. I actually have headphones in with noise canceling to be able to hear my voice, but not be able to hear all of the sound from the vacuum. we're actually going to turn it back on now because I want to try to keep that blue flame because that's more or less how I heat. I set stuff on top of the embers and let the hot air come up through. But we want this to pick up a nice glow. That way a lot of the mill scale gets knocked off by the water. Because this is mild steel, a water quench will harden it a little bit, but not noticeably. And we've just hit the point where you can't really see in the forge aside from the fire licking out. But the embers are now yellow. Which means our piece is orange. We're going to cool that off real quick. And there we go. That is one of my special S-hooks. And it is quite literally an S. Although this is actually upside down. So now it doesn't look like an S. When you start flipping it all different kinds of directions, you forget what an S looks like. And I'm going to go polish and paint this, and it'll be ready to sell. Hope you guys have learned something. I wish I had a better area without all these posts. Because I've got a shadow if I step just right there from a support beam. So you can barely see. But that's all we've got for this one. And I'll figure out something new for the next one. Hope you guys enjoyed. And we hope to see you back at the shop next week. Bye.